All right, guys. Our next guest made his long-awaited return when he finished David Branch back in September. He's a former UFC champion, former Strikeforce champion, and currently ranked number 2 in the UFC's middleweight division. The big question now is, what is next for him? He is none other than Luke Rockhold, and he's kind enough to join us fresh from training, fresh from kicking butt. Luke, welcome back to the program. We've missed you, man. I can't lie about it. We've missed you.
It's always good talking with you, boys.
Awesome. Really appreciate it. Glad you're back on the show, Luke. We haven't heard a whole lot from you since your big return win over Branch. What's new and what have you been up to since September?
I've just been fine-tuning my body. I had some injuries going into the fight and just been working around that, trying to get healthy, trying to get sharp, trying to stay ready. I just turned 33 this year, so you gotta nurture the body a little better these days. It's harder to come back and it's harder to get that weight down, so I'm not messing around anymore. I took too much time off.
And of course, you were staying busy and training in case Bisping or GSP didn't make it to UFC 217. Were you a little bit disappointed that you didn't get that last-minute call to fill in?
It is what it is at this point. I'm just looking forward to what's next. Unfortunately, it sounds like we have a holdup, and it's going to take some time to iron out what's next. So it's this is my whole point. This is what I talked about beforehand. GSP saw a weakness in Bisping, and it was a one and done kind of thing. I know he's contractually obligated to defend his belt, but as you and we all heard on the mic, he's backtracking and he's trying to find his way out, seemingly.
Do you sort of feel like we're back to square one? Because I know it wasn't that long ago that you were happy because the division was moving along. We had the interim belt and you were happy about that. Now the GSP's champion, we kind of don't really know what's going on. If he goes down to another weight class, fights Woodley or McGregor, again, we sort of have a hold up. Do you sort of feel like we're back to, square one?
Yeah, I don't feel like we're in a great situation. Congrats to GSP. He's a legend. He pulled it off. I said there was an opportunity. I thought he was at a deficit, and it looked like he was, at first, but he pulled it off. Congrats to him. But figure it out, man, because I'm ready to go. I know Whittaker is ready to go, and obviously he sees GSP and he wants his payday. But is he going to get that? Is he going to, how long is he going to drag his feet for? I'm ready to move forward with the division and get things going. So we'll see.
I guess, you mentioned it yourself. He's contractually obligated to fight Robert Whittaker, but most of us believe that it's not going to happen. Even in the UFC broadcast itself, Robert Whittaker was there. They didn't bring him into the cage. Joe Rogan didn't ask him about Robert Whittaker post-fight. Dana White didn't really mention it after the fight either. We know that the UFC is coming down for UFC 221 in Perth in February. I don't know if you saw that. And, Robert Whittaker is likely to be on that. Have you had a chance to try to speak to someone in the UFC about the possibility of maybe making another flight down to Australia and maybe fighting for the interim title?
I've talked about it with the UFC, and it was potentially on the table. But
wow.
I'm not going out there to fight. I'm not going out there to fight for the interim title. This is GSP needs to figure it out. He needs to move on, get out, and really, like I said before, Robert Whittaker was the real champion before Bisping lost that title in my eyes a long time ago when he decided to fight guys outside the top 10, and welterweights for that matter. He earned it. He got the title, but Whittaker's been the man for the last year or so. He's fought Jacare, fought Yoel. He's fought the top contenders, and that's what it takes to be a champion. So, in my eyes, Whittaker's the champ, like I said before. So, I'll be ready to go to Perth. It was just it's a matter of how this whole thing plays out, and we'll see.
Is that the big hang up for you though? Because let's be honest, it looks like GSP is going to sort of hold on to this title because they'll probably want to promote him as a dual champion if he does go down to welterweight, or I don't know if somehow him and Conor McGregor end up coming together. There's a whole bunch of crazy scenarios. If the UFC don't change that title from interim champion to full champion with Robert Whittaker, would that be a major hang up for you that would stop you from going down to Perth?
I think it would. I think it's ridiculous if they were to let him hold on to it and not pull that let him relinquish that and go down to fight Tyrone, seemingly like it sounds like he wants to do. So I think they should just get back to, what made this company what it is. You go too far down the wrong trail, there's no turning back. And so you go into Conor McGregor land and you get that fight going. It just, the whole thing's a mess. They need to just put the best against the best in each division and stop jumping around.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we spoke about it in our breakdown. We suggested that if GSP does go down, then the belt needs to be relinquished. But you did say there were talks between you and the UFC. What exactly were they suggesting? What were they offering? What did they want? Were they suggesting you versus Whittaker in Perth?
It was an option. It was an option. Everything depended on what happened, last weekend. So it still depends on what's to come. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes. I know Whittaker is. Obviously, he wants that fight, as he should, but I don't think he's going to get it. So I'm more than willing to move on and take him on in Perth. I love Australia. I've always had good times, and the kid's a stud, and I'd be honored to fight him.
Right, and when they were talking about that potential fight, what exactly was it in relation to the title picture? Like, let's say Bisping had won and he was the champion. How, in that sense, would it, say, be you and Whittaker for the belt? Or if GSP had won like he did, what was going to happen with the belt in Perth?
Yeah, that's all. There's question marks everywhere, and there still is. So, there's backup plans. There always is. And I don't know where we're at right now. So I'm staying sharp. I'm trying to get healthy. I got some issues with my feet, my ankles from the last fight and camp, and so just nursing, getting healthy, getting sharp, staying ready. And I'm waiting for the big fight. Whether if they wait, obviously everyone knows what I want. It's Bisping. It's Bisping, and if it's his last fight, he's going to London. The man says he didn't get lucky. The man says he's better than me. He's been running his mouth forever. And then put your money where your mouth is. I'll go show up on your front doorstep, and I'll take your head off in London. It'll be my pleasure. Step up.
That's a good point. You bring up a good point, because on one hand, they may offer you some kind of title fight, but you're right, Bisping is probably around the corner from retirement. If they say, look, Luke, you can either fight, say, Whittaker for the belt, or you can fight Bisping before he retires, potentially forever, what would sort of be more enticing for you? Would you take the Bisping fight because it might be the last chance?
Whittaker's number one. I mean, the title is number one.
Right.
That's what it is. Of course, Bisping would be sweet. There's nothing. That's number two, 100%. I'm tired of him running his mouth, saying this, saying that. You think you're better. You think a lot of that situation. He claims such a tough guy. I'll go show up there any day, anytime. I'm right there to his advantage, where he gets all his favorable decisions. But that fight's not going the distance. I wouldn't even. I would promise him at this point I wouldn't even take him down. I'd fight him wherever he may like the fight to be.
And I feel like that's the dangerous Rockhold, because I remember you said that before the first fight in Sydney, and we saw how that played out. If you feel like if he retired, you never got that rematch, but you holding the belt.
I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. It'd be sweet. But if he's going to go fight again, there's no one else he should fight. If he's going to go step into the cage again, there's no one else he should fight right now. I mean, it's me and him. That's what it should be. And if he's going to run away, like most of us expect him to do, I think it's a very telling situation. But you're going to fight again, you better damn well believe I should be the guy.
And obviously, there's been a lot of great middleweight champions in the past, guys like Anderson Silva, a bunch of names. Now that it's all said and done for Michael as champion, how do you assess his run as the UFC middleweight champion compared to a lot of those other greats?
I've said my piece about Michael and his title run.
Well, I guess the other thing that we're going to talk about is obviously Derek Brunson. You guys had, I wouldn't even say really a back and forth. He sort of blew you up on Twitter. You sort of responded. Didn't really seem too interested, but he didn't really mince words when he was trying to call you out. For those who didn't see it, what exactly happened there?
I don't even know. I don't know. The kid is like a jealous ex-girlfriend. He just runs his mouth. It's the same thing back in Strikeforce days. He ran his mouth. He came up against one of my older opponents that I had beaten, and he got knocked out in the first round. So he's running his mouth again. years later. He's gonna find out. The kid's not equipped. He's fighting. He's fighting has-beens, and we'll see. Well, I don't really care at this point. I'm not looking behind myself. I'm looking in front.
Mm-hmm. So would you say at the moment, with some of the options that you have, you're not really even considering him as a potential option for your next fight?
No, there's no point to it. I'm considering Whittaker. I'm considering Bisping, and I'm considering UL. 1, 2, and 3. Boom, boom, boom. Not looking back.
Talk to us a little bit about these ankle and feet issues that you have, because obviously we know Perth is going down in February. It kind of looks like the Bisping fight's going to be happening in March. How soon do you think you'll be ready to go if the UFC does throw you a fight? Would you be able to come down to Perth February 11th and face Whittaker? It would mean you might have a bit of a less Merry Christmas and a little bit of a less Happy New Year, because you'll be going through a rigorous training camp getting ready for Whittaker.
Gladly. As a fighter, I've been in this game for a long time. When there's a fight on the line, that's worthwhile. I put the injuries and everything in the back of my head, and I'll fight through it. I always have.
The other thing that you mentioned is obviously this Yoel Romero fight. This one sort of seems like it's been an elusive fight for you. You've somewhat campaigned for this fight in the past. There were sort of issues where it seemed like Romero potentially didn't want to do 5 rounds. What is it that appeals to you about that fight? Is it just that sort of he's one of the best options, like if you don't get Bisping or Whittaker?
I'm not going to sit around and wait forever. Of course, I want a title fight. I want a trilogy with Bisping. I want to finish that episode. I want to put him away. And then Yoel's, he's the next best guy. So I'm here to fight the best. And so my reasoning is right there. It's pretty plain and simple. Anybody can figure that out.
If you do get the Yoel fight, is it safe that you want to main event a card though, so that it can be a 5 rounds? Because that's kind of what you've said in the past, that you want it to be a 5-round fight.
Yeah, a 5-round fight is how you fight anybody. The best guys in the world, we all deserve 5-round fights. 3-round fights are stupid in my eyes. They don't really tell who the better fighter is. There's too many variables. You have to force fights, and you have to rely on the judges. I'm a tactical fighter. I wait, and I fight my fight. So that's 5-round fights are, in the top 5. I think every fight should be a 5-round fight.
For sure. And if the UFC did offer you a 3-round fight, would it be safe to say that you would sort of take a pass or campaign for, a better spot with a 5-round fight? I'm just wondering, did they try and set that up at any point while they're offering you this Whittaker fight? Did they try and throw you well at any point?
He's been an option. Everyone's been an option, and they're just trying to fill cards. So we'll see. Obviously, you heard how I'm feeling about the situation. I want to see what the fuck happens. GSP needs to make up his mind, and the UFC needs to make up their minds. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't want to jump into something and lose something.
Yeah.
So that's. I'm gonna let things iron themselves out for a second, and I'm gonna see what's really out there. I'm working my ass off. I got a lot of things going on right now. I got some things I got to handle on the outside. So, like I said, I'm still getting healthy and just getting 100%. So, rearranging my life, putting myself where I need to be.
Well, there you go, guys. Luke, we'll let you go in just a second. One of the last questions, if not the last. If the UFC offered you some kind of big bone end-of-year card, would that be a reasonable time frame for you, or is it just sort of cutting it too close?
Potentially, yeah. No, end of the year is not out of the question. I want the biggest fight possible for me right now. So I'm looking to fucking make my paychecks. So we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. But I'm staying on my game. I ain't taking any time off. I'm working around what I have to, and I'll be ready when the time comes. So I think you can expect something announced here shortly. I would imagine they're pretty eager to figure this thing out.
Well, there you guys go. Luke Rockhold, hopefully we'll be seeing him in Perth. We're very, very selfish, Luke. We want to see you in Perth February 11th against Robert Whittaker, but
I would love nothing more. Like I said, number 1, Perth. Let's do this thing. That's at the top of my list.
I hear there's some good surfing up there. There's some nice beaches up there. Maybe me and Casper can organize a couple of nice restaurant bookings. I'm just saying, we'll see what happens, but that's February 11th over there, UFC 221. For now, we wait for the big announcement. Luke, thank you so much for joining us on Submission Radio. Guys, make sure to follow Luke on Twitter at Luke Rockhold. and keep an eye on what's happening next. One of the most interesting storylines going in the middleweight division right now. Luke, we hope the ankles and the feet feel better, and thank you so much for joining us on Submission Radio.
Cheers, mate. Oh, next time.
Thanks, Luke.
See you next time, Luke. Thanks, mate. Bye-bye.